and welcome to the One Sweet Wrestling Podcast with David and Troy. And yeah, I'm feeling a little less than extreme today. I don't know about you.
Are you telling me that this weekend wasn't just some of the most extreme wrestling you've ever watched in your life?
I have never seen a more boring cage match. And
I don't even know if it was boring. It was just weird and stupid.
the pacing felt strange.
Well, it's because all they could really do was punch a few times, crawl up, grab weapon, use weapon, fall down.
That was
It was
basically,
just
yeah.
and they just rinsed and repeated until it was over. It was very weird. And can okay, we're jumping right into it. Can we just take Dean Ambrose out of the goofy Dean Ambrose with stuff matches? I'm so tired of that already.
But
Every
he's,
match has got to be Dean Ambrose with stuff.
but he's the lunatic fringe
But well, they should start calling him with stuff.
with stuff.
Or his next T-shirt should say Dean Ambrose on the front, and on the back it should say now with more stuff.
You got to sell those merchandise toys, you know. Now he can have all kinds of accessories.
That is fucking literally all they do with him now. Is just what sort of stupid fucking non-weapons are they gonna have him swinging around this week? And it's been going on for a while. This has been going on since Jesus, was it like Christmas a year and a half ago, where he had that dumb match on Monday Night Raw where he was hitting somebody with a fucking Christmas tree and with Christmas presents. And then earlier in the year he had one at Halloween where he was bashing pumpkins over people's heads. I mean, it's literally it's just they think that if they want people, they being the WWE, think that if they want people to find Dean Ambrose to be hardcore, he just needs to have more stuff.
Just get some more stuff in there. Now, let's talk about the less than extremeness of this pay-per-view that is known as Extreme Rules. It's all based around, it's supposed to be the culmination of all these rivalries, so there's no other way. We have to have no holds barred matches, despite the fact that the psychology behind most of these made no sense. Like in the main event where you had multiple interferences, so you're like, well, let's just make it anything goes. That'll stop them from coming in. It's like, no, that's the match that should have had the cage match stipulation.
Well, yeah, but
And
even then a cage match, like what, like this whole idea that the cage match stops anyone from interfering. Can we just stop pretending that that's a thing?
I know it's not a thing, but it makes way more sense.
Yeah,
To,
I mean, I'll give you that. I mean, yes, from a psychological level, it makes way more sense. But if we could just have a cage match where no one interferes, maybe even a couple of those in a row, just to sort of to reinstall that idea in our minds that no one's going to interfere, because that'd be the fucking crazy thing. That would be the swerve. At this point, no one interfering. A cage match just being seen to fruition with the two guys that are actually in it from beginning to end. That in itself would be the swerve.
yeah, I agree. And the thing that bothered me is the Jericho match. There's a match that would work perfectly for what they built up to. It's called a straitjacket match. And the match is you have a straitjacket like on a pole, and the loser is the guy who gets put in the straitjacket.
And I thought that's where they were going. But you know what? I mean, how many of those were ever actually done? The only one I can remember was the Scott Steiner one from like WCW. Was it Green?
Mayhem.
Was it
I think it was
Mayhem? Yeah,
Mayhem.
from 2000. It's a fucking terrible match. I'm glad
Oh
they
no.
didn't do that, but this Asylum match wasn't any better. I mean, it's funny. It was exactly what we thought it was going to be when we talked about it last week. It was literally just weapons at the top, cage match, hit each other with weapons. It was just so fucking boring and stupid. And they really genuinely thought the tired old someone falls on thumbtacks shtick was gonna be extreme and hardcore and different. And like, if anything, I cringe when Dean Ambrose fucking put himself into them at the end of the match.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, starting off with the show, we had if you go back to the kickoff match, we have a no holds barred match between Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, because this feud's going to go on forever. And the thing about it is, this was a great opportunity to put Baron Corbin over as a monster heel and just have him beat the living hell out of Ziggler with chairs or put him through tables or whatever, and really start the show off with a bang. And the only extreme thing that happened is a low blow. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle to even, I don't know. It was a retarded no holds barred match, and I struggle to even really call this a feud because do we know why these guys don't like each other? Has that story even been told?
No, it has not. They had I think it was just because it was his first singles match, and it just after he debuted, and they just went into a whole brawl, and they just don't like each other, Troy.
Yeah, I guess they don't, even though no, even though neither one of them is cutting a promo on each other backstage. I don't think I've seen it once. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've seen either one of these guys cut a promo on the other one. It's literally just run them up against each other. I mean, it is unbelievable to me that this is where we've gotten to with Dolph Ziggler. Every time you think that it cannot get worse for Dolph Ziggler, it just gets fucking worse, and it's just sad to watch.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, what did you do? You just did something to destroy people, but I
Well,
don't
he
know.
tells the truth. He tells the truth is what he does. I mean, he's done enough of it in the public and on social media. He tells the truth. I think on top of the other stuff that he was already paying for, I think Dolph Ziggler's comment that the last thing WWE is interested in is your ability to wrestle. That's it. That's what he is. He's going to pay for that for the rest of his career until he decides to leave.
Yeah, that's true. I wish there was other options out there for guys like that. But moving on, we had the United States Championship match where Rusev Crush.
Rusev Crush, and this is one of the things I was really pleased about because we need to get back to Rusev Crush. That's all I can really say. I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, so I won't spend too much time on it. But that's something we definitely need to get back to, where Rusev just looks like a fucking monster, and Lana comes out and she talks shit like she's so fucking good at doing. It seems like someone's giving them a second chance, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, and it was a good match, and he put Kalisto in some pretty awkward positions that made it feel pretty real.
Yeah, well, Jesus, that accolade at the end. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was like it takes about 2 seconds to debunk it, but if when you're suspending your disbelief and you're just watching after that bump that Kalisto took on the edge of the apron or just above the apron, and then getting put into that extra stretchy accolade, that was a pretty fucking cool finish. I did really like that.
Yeah, it was great, and I'm glad that they had him actually tap rather than oh, he passes out from the pain, because they used that thing on when they were pushing him the first time. Like, I think it was who was it? Jack Swagger, Ryback, Mark Henry, all of
Cena
them.
passed out to it.
Yeah, Cena passed out to it, and it was like, dude, it doesn't mean anything when everyone passes out to it. They
Yeah,
have,
it meant it when it happened to the first guy.
yeah,
The first guy, it meant something.
but it doesn't mean anything when you're doing it to everybody. Also, we on the card we had the Club. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows defeated the Usos in a tornado tag match, which I didn't even know they still had these. I'm glad they did, but I like the old tornado tag matches.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if you had forgotten about this match because I think it was pretty goddamn forgettable. I don't know. How did you feel about this? I mean, I can tell you that I'm
Um,
happy the way that it turned out, but to me it's just more a misuse of Gallows and Anderson.
I think the most memorable thing about this match was the lack thereof pop that the Usos got. Like, their boos, I almost think their boos were louder than Roman Reigns.
Oh man. Oh man, did the switch ever flip for those two? And you can see it in their faces. You can when Vince decided to just go full on making them a part of Roman's everyday world on screen, and they started getting those boos. I actually called my wife into the room. I called my wife into the room and I said, do you if you ever wanted to hear what I'm talking about when I talk about the WWE production crew cranking down the audience volume to where the boos just sound like this weird garbled muffled mess, like somebody suffocating a person who's booing. Like that was the textbook definition of it. It was so unbelievably bad. And the only thing I thought the most impressive part of this match, if this tells you anything, I thought the most impressive part of this match was how Kevin Dunn was still able to pick up on the few people who say "oh" while muffling the other 17,000 people in the audience.
That's got to be like a pre-recording from like 2014.
It was crazy, right? Like that
Yeah.
just that floored me. I was like, wow, he's actually getting the O's in there. Fantastic, good for him. But yeah, yeah. I mean, at this point, I will say this about the Usos. Um, at least everyone finally caught up to me, I guess. Because Jesus, I mean, even when we started doing this show last winter, late fall, early winter, when we started doing this show, people were still cheering for the Usos, and I was sitting here talking about how I, in fact, do not say "oh," and I will never say "oh," and and here we are, and I get that to a certain extent it's the same kind of hate that Roman Reigns gets. It's more hate for the situation than anything else. But I got to tell you, I could actually see myself getting into Reigns prior or before getting into the Usos. The Usos to me are nepotism incarnate.
Yeah, I would. Well, I think one of them, and I'll be damned if I can tell you which is which, but one of them I think has a personality, but the other one is terrible.
So one with
And
the face paint,
they both have face paint.
the one who wears his shirt out to the ring,
Don't they both do that?
the one who wears the goofy white socks.
You're not. You're describing both of them.
You're damn right I am. Shit. Neither one of them has a personality, so it's not like one of them sticks out.
There's one that has a slightly better personality, I think, and the other one just feels awkward. But I don't
Well,
remember which.
all I can say is I was annoyed the second they came out wearing those flags that said blood on one side and line on the other. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" God damn, does WWE ever just celebrate the dumbest parts of their product?
They love Samoans. They fucking love
Jesus
Samoans.
Christ. What is it? My question is, what is it? Seriously, name one straight up Samoan who has ever drawn a significant amount of money in the industry. One straight up Samoan. He can't have any other blood. 100% Samoan.
Yokozuna?
Okay. Sure. It had nothing to do with the guys he was in the ring with. It was just him. Wink.
That man. That
Anyway,
man
I'm
wore.
sorry because I know that sounds really callous, and I know that shits on a number of really prominent legacies in the industry. And I'm not saying that fucking Haku and fucking Sika and fucking Umaga and fucking Rikishi. I'm not saying that these guys weren't good, but there's a difference between being good and drawing money. And I'm sorry, man. I am sorry, but the Usos are not gonna be able to fucking draw a dime if you gave them a fucking picture of Roosevelt, a fucking piece of tracing paper, and some fucking charcoal to rub on that shit.
I could see that.
No, you won't see that. You won't see it because they can't do it.
I am. I'm sorry to do this, but I do not believe that Haku is part of the Anawahi family.
Well, I know, but he's still fucking Samoan, isn't he?
I don't think he's Samoan either. I think he's from the Isle of Tonga.
Oh, well, come on. Everybody, you know what? I'm not saying it's right, but everybody lumps the Tongans in with the. Of course, I fucking knew that because he's Tama Tonga's dad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
Yeah, come on. Everybody lumps them together. Fuck you. Calling
Okay.
me out on a fucking. That's a fucking technicality at best.
I'm just curious. Are we gonna? Is Hideo Itami and Nakamura related too?
Fuck you. I didn't say related. I was talking about Samoans in general. That whether or not Samoans drew money. I said nothing about. Look. Vince McMahon is the one that thinks that they're all related.
This is
Vince
true.
McMahon is the one who can't fucking give that up.
Yeah, you're right. You're
I
right.
mean, honestly, half the time I feel like Vince McMahon just like in the back of his mind, he sees it as his plantation. I said it.
Yeah, you did. Now, moving on to the next tag team match that was on there, which is kind of different for the WWE to have two tag team matches on a single pay per view. That's not like a throwaway fatal four way tag team match, with women wrestlers that they usually do on the pre-show. But we had the New Day with Big E and Xavier Woods, with good old Kofi on the outside, taking on the Vaudevillains for the tag team championship. Now, here's something I'm noticing about this. Okay, we're into the fourth match, and this is a championship match. This match only lasted 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and of all the matches that took place, now all the first four, not one of them went over 10 minutes. Went to 10 minutes.
Well, I'm sure there's various reasons for all that, but I can tell you why this one was so goddamn short. You actually made the comment that they don't normally do a second tag match unless it's a throwaway match. I
Right.
would argue that this was a throwaway match, and this is why. Not to say that the four guys in the ring weren't insanely talented. This is why this is a throwaway match, because no one cared, because WWE didn't make us care. They didn't help us care because WWE was never interested in this match to begin with. This is a match that they were saddled with, and all I can say is I'm proud that they went through with it. I'm proud that they didn't find some way to usurp the vaudevillains in this position and give this spot to someone else. Because it seems like something that they were going to do. To me, I was just like, oh, the vaudevillains are never going to Extreme Rules for this fucking championship match. They'll bring in the fucking Dudleys or something. They'll do some stupid fucking angle and bring the Dudleys back into it because they're never going to give these guys a chance. And the truth is, they didn't push them. It's like when you go to see a movie and there's been no marketing behind it. You know what I mean? So no one's there to watch it. This is what it felt like to me. This to me felt like a throwaway match because no one thought that English and Gotch were going to win because WWE so obviously was not going to let that happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the thing that gets me is this was the tag team champions match with the New Day, who is arguably the most popular, not just faction, but just wrestlers they have in the company right now. I
Yeah,
could
they're
say
probably the most popular single act. Definitely.
and this match went 6 minutes and 20 seconds. It was the shortest match on the card.
Yep. No, no. You know what? Again, if it were any other company, I'd be surprised. But seriously, I guarantee you, I guarantee you that when they were plotting out this pay per view, Vince said, "Fuck it, give him 6 minutes because I don't care." Because someone just handed me a piece of paper telling me that Enzo Amore is cleared for tomorrow night. Fuck it. Seriously, I mean, can tell me I'm wrong, and I do want to point out the fact that that by this point everyone knows that Enzo did return on Monday night. I just hope that he didn't return too soon, because I could
What?
see a guy like that being very easily, maybe not pressured, but very easily psychologically maneuvered into returning early, a la a lot of the stories CM Punk told when he was when he or what it, where it's a story CM Punk told on the Colt Cabana podcast, because you listen to Enzo Amore's interviews when he talks about being in the business and everything that it means to him. Enzo Amore would jump off of a fucking 10-story rooftop if fucking Triple H or Vince McMahon asked him to do it. He wouldn't ask questions. He would just fucking dive.
Well, rumor has it that he's cleared to travel, but they're not going to actually put him in the ring just yet, and that's why there. I guess there's even talk if they're going to do some tests on it that him possibly in the future becoming a permanent mouthpiece because they're worried. I don't think this is his first concussion with the company, and he is a very valuable asset. He's great on the mic, just absolutely tremendous. But I think they're gonna give him a little more time to heal up before they put him in the ring.
Well,
But
good. They should. I was worried about that when he came out last night.
yeah, but I think they want to. They were tired of because Big Cass has some potential, but you started to hear the chants, we want
Hmm.
Enzo," when he's out there because he's very limited in what he can do. He's not terrible on the mic, but you could tell he's very robotic, and that's
Well,
why.
they want to get them both over. And there's a reason these guys are in a tag team, and there's a reason that that dynamic works. One kind of doesn't work without the other.
No, you're right. You're 100% correct. But I wouldn't be surprised to see if this is something that continues as we see Enzo as a full time manager in the next year or so.
It's probably I don't know anything about concussions within the company. Wouldn't surprise me because I've read a bit about his time in NXT prior to me watching the show, where he had been out for some injuries and that might have been one of them. But he also told a story on he told a number of stories on the Steve Austin podcast, when he and Cass were on there. A number of stories about past injuries. One of them in particular being when he was playing football. I don't know if you listened to that or not. He told a story about when he fucking took a stinger when he was playing football and lost feeling on half of his body for an extended period of time. It was something crazy like that. So
Yeah.
this easily not his first concussion.
Yeah. So, and just because as careful as they're being with concussions now, ever since the Chris Benoit um, incident, where I guess that was, even though people don't really want to say, but that was almost definitely linked to concussions. And if
Oh,
you,
I think people at this point people are fine saying that.
well,
I hear it enough
I
now.
think at the beginning, it was something that people weren't willing to talk about because they're
Sure.
like, because when they did the study on his brain, I think it came back that Chris Benoit had the brain of an 80-year-old man with dementia, and they're like, well, that's impossible. There's no way. But according to the tests they did, that's what they were saying about him. And I mean, until the NFL really started bringing things out and actually saying, yeah, okay, this is a problem. I think it was something that society was just brushing under the rug and just trying to ignore. Oh, concussions aren't that bad. It was steroids. That's what made him do it. It was the steroids.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I think at this point, everyone accepts that. You know what I mean? I would agree with you. I think it was a long time where no one wanted to talk about, no one wanted to talk about the concussion factor of the Benoit incident. But yeah. There's just it's been so long, and it just slowly sort of made its way into wide acceptance, I guess, amongst the pro and internet wrestling community, that I think now just kind of goes without saying. I think everyone knows that, everyone accepts it. There's just never been a big statement from the WWE really confirming it.
Yeah, but I think with Corey Graves, because he's no longer a competitor because of concussions, Daniel Bryan was no longer allowed to compete because of concussions. I think they're really being serious about it, and they're really going to watch him. So if he continues to have issues, or if he has another one, I can definitely see them pulling him off as a full time active competitor.
Well, I have an idea for them. Maybe they can stop. They can stop having their guys treat themselves like they're fucking human pieces of paper running through fucking paper shredders. I mean, it's like that. That's all they do. They fucking destroy themselves. They destroy themselves on TV. How many fucking nights a week? And it's more if you're better at what you do. I mean, when you really fucking look at it, the guys who have the long careers are the guys who work smarter, who aren't taking these ridiculous monster bumps, are getting thrown all over the place. The guy the guy who's there in the company right now. Two guys who have had really fucking long careers. I just think of right off the top of my head are fucking John Cena and the Undertaker. And you know what? Both of those guys have had plenty of injuries, but I'll tell you what they're not doing. They're not fucking high flying off every other thing. They're not taking those fucking massive cringeworthy bumps. They're working smart, and that
Yeah,
doesn't exist anymore. The young guys, like what people always refer to as the video game wrestling, jumping around like a video game cutscene. That gets you one thing. It gets you injured.
no, you're right about that. But I'll tell you, one person who was able to do some of the high flying and is still going strong, and I think it's the way he works because he works smart and has the appearance that he's doing more than he is Chris Jericho.
I knew that's where you were going, and you're 100% right. But he comes from an old school of thought. You know what I mean? He does the high flying stuff, but he does it kind of rarely, and he still knows how to set it up. He still knows how to work the crowd. He still knows how to sell it like it means something. I mean, if you want the perfect example, I want to say it was, oh fuck, I don't even remember the pay per view. But when he was feuding with the Wyatt family, when he returned in 2014 or 15, I don't remember what year it was, but it was in the fall, and Chris Jericho returned specifically to feud with the Wyatt family, and he delivered a crossbody off the top of a steel cage. But the thing is, it meant something when he did it. There were so many other guys in the company who could have done it, and it would have been something everyone forgot by the next day. I still remember. I still hear people talk about the crossbody off the top of the cage, because Chris knew how to work the crowd. He knew how to build it up. He knew how to make it mean something, and he knew how to execute it without killing himself.
The only thing that I'm going to be sad. I mean, I'm a huge Chris Jericho fan, but the one thing I'm going to be sad about is the fact, because he is in a band and does so many things outside of wrestling, that he probably won't transition to being behind the scenes, because I think he has so much that he could teach the younger talent, and he would just, if he could go down to like, and even part time work down at NXT to show some of these guys things. I mean, he was having, like, when he decided he was going to be a heel, like, people were just like, not they weren't having it, and he within probably 2 minutes of just talking to the crowd, they were booing and hating him
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
just knows how to do it, and it's just phenomenal.
So we totally went off topic on that. But speaking of guys who are fucking flying around video game style wrestling, which don't get me wrong, I have my issues with it, but there are motherfuckers that can make it look good. That IC title match, that fatal four way.
That was, I mean, that definitely to me stole the show.
Holy shit, did it ever! I watched that and I thought to myself, "There's no way anything else in this card tops what we just saw."
No, that
And it
match,
did.
and I in no way wanted the Miz to retain, but the match was so good, it kind of gave it a pass.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I was fine with it. When he retained, I actually said to myself, "Okay," it just didn't bother me. And then the reason is because, well, for once, we're at least treating the Miz like he's somewhat credible. It feels like he's not going to be a transitional champion for once, but that's not really the reason I was fine with it. The reason I was fine with it is because it's good. It's good for everyone. It's the Miz still looks strong, carrying the IC title, right? It's still he still gets the heel heat that he needs to continue on this run. You get Zayn and Owens, and their feud just got even hotter. They hate each other even more, and that's what everyone really wants to see. And now they're breaking off, and Cesaro is going straight for the Miz and straight for the IC title. And I have a feeling that at SummerSlam, Cesaro is going to be your new Intercontinental Champion.
I hope so. I just feel that he I don't know. I could see him being a credible threat to Roman Reigns in the main event slot if they gave him the opportunity, but I think he's too injury prone that I don't know if he'll ever really be a main eventer.
But that's what we're talking about. I mean, really stop and ask yourself this question, because you can say, X, Y, or Z person is really injury prone, so they should never be a top guy, but that's fucking all of them at this point. Everyone on the roster is injury prone, and once you've hit a point where everyone on the roster is injury prone, you got to ask yourself, huh? Are they just hiring a shitload of paper people, or is there something inherently wrong about the way they're working?
You know what I thought might be an interesting idea? If they did sort of a rotating idea of, okay, take out a couple of your throwaway pay per views and just have that month don't have a show and rotate your crew. So, like every other month, like have like 3 blocks. So, 3 months out of the year, you don't have a pay per view. And just somehow give each block a person, like when you block A would have, I don't know, like 2 weeks in May off,
Hmm.
and block B would have 2 weeks in September off, and then block C would have 2 weeks in, I don't know, another month off, like February.
Well, that's kind of how the old territory system worked. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily just to give people rests for injury's sake or anything like it was. It was more to rest guys so that they could continue to be popular, so we could miss them. They could go away and we could miss them, and they could come back or they could work another territory. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is something that should be happening. But when they have so many fucking hours of television to fill per week, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah, and honestly, and I may be alone in this, but I would not be upset if they got rid of SmackDown
Nope, wouldn't bother me a bit.
because
Honestly, SmackDown is something I like on the weekend. I watch it on Hulu while in the morning while I'm not awake yet, and I'm playing with my daughter. Like I need to put something on in the background while we play. I hardly pay attention to it. I couldn't tell you anything prominent that's happened on the SmackDown since I was in high school, which, by the way, was 16 years ago.
no, you're 100% correct. It's just, I mean, there was a point when we weren't watching when Paul Heyman was the head writer and they did the brand split where SmackDown was actually better than Raw. There was a good point when that was happening. That's when they had like Brock Lesnar as their champion, and then Triple H was over there doing his reign of terror, where he just beat everyone for no reason, and he never got his comeuppance. But I don't know. It's just it was one of those things. It's like I think Raw needs to cut down an hour because it doesn't make any sense that your pay per view and your weekly show, your flagship show, are the same amount of time. It doesn't make it feel special. And the answer, Vince, is not making WrestleMania 7 hours long. That is not the answer to that. The answer is to have 4 hour WrestleMania, 3 hour regular shows, a 2 hour Raw, and okay, if you're gonna keep SmackDown, make SmackDown an hour. Maybe give it 2 hours.
Yeah,
And
stop with the clip show bullshit and just make it
yeah,
1 hour of meaningful wrestling.
because if you think about it, here's the thing: main event. I can't remember if it's main event or if it's superstars, but it's taped the hour before Raw, and vice versa for the SmackDown one. So
Yep.
really, if you go to a taping of Raw, you're looking at 4 hours.
Yep.
That's
You
just
sure are.
that's kind of. I mean, that's ridiculous, don't you
And
think?
closer to 4.5 when they go over.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true because they
go
have
over
dark.
all the goddamn time now.
They do, yeah, they do, and they do dark message afterwards all the time. You'll go to Wikipedia and see results, and you'll say, "Oh, and then this happened in a dark match after everything went off the air."
Yeah.
And that's. I understand the live experience, but that's a long time to engage your audience. And I think if you have less time, and they're like, "Well, if you have less time, not as many people get featured." Well, yes and no, but if you rotate people out to where not everyone's on every single Raw, then you can still get just as many people in there and give people time off to rest their bodies and not be so beat up.
Yeah.
And like you said, we'll miss them.
Yeah, well, and that's why, that's a big part of the reason why NXT works. When you look at NXT, you look at the way the show is handled, the way the talent is handled as far as their camera time. I I used to just get so fucking excited when Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy would show up on NXT, and after a few months, I realized the reason for that is because they were only showing up once every 3 to 4 weeks. They were really only wrestling on the show once a month. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Period.
Exactly. Exactly. Moving on, we go to our longest match of the night. It is the Asylum match that was about 26 minutes long, and we talked a little bit about this before. It just wasn't exciting. The only shining spot for some people was the thumbtacks bit, and I think that's just because they got to see blood.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I think seeing blood is an attraction at this point at WWE.
But other than that, I just thought it was a weirdly paced match that was just a series of what we talked about before: climbing up to the top of the cage, grabbing a weapon, coming down, using the weapon, climbing up to the top of the cage, getting a weapon. It's Dean Ambrose goes over, and hopefully this feud's over with because I mean,
Dean Ambrose went over, but no one got over.
yeah, nobody got over in this one. Then we move on to the submission match for the WWE Women's Championship with Charlotte versus Natalia, which had a weird ending, to say the least.
I want to know how you feel about this because in short, I'm happy about the destination we've reached, but the journey was a little lackluster.
Oh no, I like the destination. I think that's going to be a really good pairing together. But it's even weirder thinking about what happened the very next night. Because the very next night, Charlotte goes out, and Charlotte cannot take a crowd razzing her. She
had trouble.
She was getting flustered and she was getting mad, but she was trying to cut promo on her father, basically, which didn't even really make a lot of sense. Like, they didn't set that up very well to where she's now said, "I don't want to use you, Ric Flair, blah, 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 get out of here." I mean, some of the things she said I think could have worked really well, just about the whole time of, "I had to watch you on TV, now you can go home and watch me on TV." Like, that sort of stuff I thought was pretty good, but I don't think it really made sense. I don't think they really build to it to where I'm like, it felt like they just came out here and be like, "Hey, Rick, because of that thing you did in the airport, we're gonna
Yeah.
take you off television."
Yep, it felt there was no hint at it, there was no build towards it whatsoever. It just kind of happened. I would agree that there were shining spots in that promo that made sense. I am definitely glad that Rick is stepping out of the picture and that she's actually going to be healing up with another decent heel on the roster. But yeah, I kept thinking the whole time I was watching it, I was like, okay, number one, Charlotte needs to stop almost crying because she's supposed to be the heel here, and two, She just kept saying the same shit over and over again. But what's more is I don't think Rick was really helping her out. For instance, when she says, "Get out of my ring. Get out of my ring. Get out of my ring. Get out of my ring," and he's still not out of the fucking ring. And then she says a couple of other things, then goes right back to repeating, "Get out of my ring." It's like, Rick, at some point, you gotta get the fuck out of the ring so that she can move on with the promo. You
Yeah.
gotta, like, he wasn't doing her any favors either by taking his sweet ass time. So yeah, it's not like he's not gonna be on your fucking TV again. He's Ric Flair. The only thing that's gonna keep him off your TV is a fucking grave. And even then, we might get Papa Shango out there to fucking resurrect him, just so Triple H has something to whack off to.
Oh, let's be serious. If they did a whole just a program about Paul Bear's death, there will be something about Ric Flair.
Oh my god, dude! There'll be a month's worth of programming over Ric Flair's death, and then there'll be the Ric Flair Invitational NWA Resurrection Title Tournament, and then fucking it'll be cheap and pointless, and no one will get over, and then we'll do it for a couple of years, and then we'll forget about it.
No, they'll take the old big gold belt and turn it into a trophy.
Oh yeah, melt it down
Yeah.
like Kama Mustafa with an urn.
Ooh, fucking the ultimate fighting machine, Kama Mustafa. That man was a bad man.
He was. He was. Whatever happened to him? Why ain't he in the Hall of Fame?
He is most definitely pimping his way towards the Hall of Fame right now.
I wish when they did the Hall of Fame inductions they would include every gimmick. It would be so great. I mean, really, like when they inducted Kevin Nash, and since they own WCW, if they would have gone back and done a little bit about Oz, and like just seriously do a little bit about each gimmick. When Kane inevitably goes in, give me a little Isaac Yankem, fucking own up to the stupidity, and give me a little fake Diesel. Like we already all know it, and it's part of the charm of it. So why the fuck wouldn't you? Why the fuck wouldn't I really just wish that the Godfather's video package would have included some Papa Shango and some Kama Mustafa, because it's why it's why we love that guy. Look at, I mean, in one episode, without even trying, we mentioned all three of his prominent gimmicks. He may have had another one, but I don't.
Well, it went from Kama the Ultimate Fighting Machine to Kama Mustafa. So he
Well, yeah,
was
'cause they
like,
had to toss on Mustafa for him to be in the nation.
exactly.
They sound very militant.
And then I think he was like the soul taker in USWA before he came into Pop, which was basically Papa Shango, from what I gather.
Oh my god, how did we get here? We are having a wander fest tonight. We are just fucking, we're starting one conversation, then just fucking bouncing around in the dark. But I don't care. I'm enjoying it. I love it.
I've
So
enjoyed it too.
so Dana Brooke and Charlotte, that's a fucking cool combo. It was clearly a spot that was meant for Emma, but even then they weren't building towards it, so it just felt fucking weird and out of nowhere. We don't know why Dana Brooke is so into Charlotte. We don't know why Charlotte's acting like they've been friends for a long time. I don't remember them ever crossing paths ever before ever, but
Did Dana Brooke even make a debut in NXT before Charlotte was gone?
no, that's my point. I don't think
Yeah.
they've ever crossed paths. So it just doesn't make sense. But I'm sure in Vince's mind they have an entire backstory.
Well, they're both blonde, Chief. Come on,
That's
pal.
all you need. That's all you need, pal.
No, I think it's going to be a good little faction for him. I'm curious what they plan to do with Rick, because I can't imagine they're just going to kick him off of TV. What I think they're going to do is he's going to have a new protege, and it's going to be the returning Sasha Banks.
That would be interesting.
That's
That'd be
kind of
interesting.
that's kind of how I feel about it, because I can't imagine Rick not going out there and doing something else. And this is because they're terrible. This is what they'll do. They'll bring him out with Sasha. They'll have their match at like Battleground, not at SummerSlam. They'll have it at like Battleground, and then Rick will turn on Sasha because he's the dirtiest player in the game. And then they'll
Yeah,
go on.
the thing is, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see the boss being carted around by a man. I don't know how I feel about that. It's
Well,
interesting, but I don't know how I feel about it.
What it leads up to, though, it leads up to the first ever women's cage match at SummerSlam.
I have a feeling that Sasha Banks has a lot of first evers in her future. She's definitely the best they've got right now, regardless of how high they are on Charlotte.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's being protected right now. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. Now we're going to move on to our main event of the evening, which AJ Styles cannot have a bad match. He makes people look way better than what they are. This was actually a decent match. There's a lot of chicanery, a lot of interference going on during it. But I think the thing that bothered me most about this match was the finish. Because
Well, first off, I'm going to say this. It came out last week. AJ Styles is actually he's allergic to bad matches. It's like a real medical problem in his life. If he has a bad match, I'm pretty sure he will die. It's like a peanut allergy. Like Roman Reigns was like carrying around an EpiPen in the back of his cargo pants just in case there was a botch. Because if there was a botch, fucking AJ probably would have started seizing. But yeah, this was a really fucking good match, and Roman Reigns was absolutely carried to it.
yeah, he was. And this is what bothers me about it, okay? The story that was being told, Roman is a far bigger person. He's the stronger person. He's the more dominant person. But AJ kicked his ass and hit him with everything he had, and just because the only way Roman can have a match is by taking a shit ton of punishment, then coming back and hitting his big moves. Now, little AJ Styles hit him with two Scott Styles clashes, one of which on a steel chair every time Roman kicks out, and then Roman hits him with one move, one finisher, and it's over.
Yep.
That just bothered me. I'm just like,
That
uh-uh.
bothered everybody. That bothered everybody. I haven't seen a single comment on Extreme Rules that or a single commenter on Extreme Rules who that wasn't like their first and foremost complaint about the show is that all that bullshit. I mean, they both took a lot of punishment, but yeah, AJ whooped his ass with everything in his fucking arsenal, and then that one single spear, because it was in midair, I guess, is what made it so powerful.
It just bothers me because I think it made AJ look weak because AJ did all this to him and beat him all to hell, and then one big move and he was done.
Well, my first thought when the ref tapped three in favor of Roman Reigns was that was it. That was it. That was AJ Styles' main event run. It
No,
is over.
I agree. I'm hoping because Cesaro is going to the Money in the Bank that we possibly get an AJ Miz feud because I think AJ would be one hell of an Intercontinental Champion and bring it back to the days where the best worker in the company was the Intercontinental Champion. He
Mhm.
reminds me of like a Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, I could totally see that, and don't get me wrong, that's absolutely awesome. But at the same time, I really feel like this was the opportunity for Vince McMahon to prove everybody's suspicions right. All the talk about how oh AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and all these guys are making a difference, and they're proving that things have changed and the door is open to indie guys a little bit more, and the door is open, especially to TNA guys. The door is open to them a little bit more. I think the door is open to an extent, but I think when you walk through that door, there's a glass ceiling, and that glass ceiling is directly beneath the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and you ain't gonna get to the other side of it. And I think this is proof.
Yeah, they get the keys to come into the room, but they don't get to ride the elevator.
Yep. Yep. In fact, they have to sit there and look up through the glass ceiling and watch Roman Reigns get blown by Vince McMahon.
Oh God,
They're up on the glass.
that's
That's an interesting visual for you. Take that home with you.
put him on the glass.
Gross.
Yeah, fucking terrible. So anyway, the shining star from at the end of this match, though, we got the return of Seth Rollins.
We did. We did. I mean, standard stuff. Run in, pedigree, still clearly using the pedigree. And that was it. And then he holds the belt over his head and runs off. And or I shouldn't say he runs off. They go off the air. So at this point, everybody's wondering what the hell they're gonna do with him, obviously, because he's finally back. But then you got to ask the question, coming up on Raw the next night, what are they gonna do with him? What's he gonna say? How's it gonna pan out? And they pretty. I wouldn't say they did the worst thing possible, but they did the one of the few things that everyone wanted them not to do, and that's force them to just be a fucking heel.
Yeah, that felt so forced because everyone wanted to cheer him. They popped. They loved to see him because they're, oh, good, finally, we're going to get. Because everyone's been talking about it since he got injured. I'm like, wouldn't it be awesome when he comes back as a face and then we get a heel Roman Reigns versus a face Seth Rollins, which would be money because you have someone that everyone already wants to hate, then you have someone everyone wants to like. And Vince is like, nope. And Vince's stance on Roman Reigns is, well, whether they love him or they hate him, they're just really passionate about it.
Well,
So,
that's how did you know that? Is that because JBL says it every 5 minutes?
yep, every five
Jesus
minutes.
Christ, shut the fuck up with that. Yeah, you know what? I was really thinking hard about this because Seth Rollins came out and he definitely said some shit that was true. In his promo on Raw, he definitely said some shit that was true when he said, "Look, when I left, you were all booing the fuck out of me. You all hated me, and now I come back and you're gonna cheer me. Fuck you." That was all 100% true. But here's the thing: in modern wrestling, when the audience is full of people who are fucking wise to the business, everyone wanted Reigns to be a face because everyone sees how phenomenal a face he would be. They remember when he was a face with the Shield. Everyone wants that back, and it's time for it. And so, just having them come out there and say, "No, fuck you. I'm still a heel, and fuck you for not cheering me before." Well, okay. So really think about this. On face value, that's a fine argument. Fantastic, good for you. But when you really think about that, we weren't cheering you because you were being booked like shit. You were being booked like maybe the weakest champion in the past fucking 20 years of the industry. You were constantly hiding behind guys half your size. You were never winning a match legitimately, never once defending the title legitimately. So yeah, when we were cheering Seth Rollins when he came back, that's because we see his potential. It's also because we want what's on the other side of that particular tunnel, which is a heel Roman Reigns, and Vince isn't going to give us any of that. And so that was, I can see how WWE found that to be a carefully crafted argument for why he should be a heel, but nope.
Yeah, I don't. I'm a little worried about it because I mean, Money in the Bank obviously is June, and then we have another pay per view before SummerSlam, even which is late August. That tells me that Seth Rollins is not even going to be anywhere near the world title picture come SummerSlam, and I'm kind of worried where he's going to be at on the card because I think it's been kind of known that they really want to do Roman Reigns versus John Cena for SummerSlam as kind of a passing of the torch match. Which, don't get me wrong, that makes sense. I don't think it's the best option, but where does someone like Seth Rollins go from there? Because I just don't think there's any way they're taking that title off of Reigns.
But wait, we've got Money in the Bank, which
Yeah,
they've already confirmed is it would be what you would call Rollins Reigns 1.
right,
And then, although technically not, but still. Then you've got Battleground, which would be Rollins Reigns 2,
right,
and then SummerSlam, right? So that
right.
would they always go for threes. So
Mm,
I would imagine these guys are going to run through SummerSlam, don't you think?
I don't think so because normally what they do, they have a couple of throwaways before they get to the big one, which is SummerSlam. So you had two. AJ Styles got two matches. I think Seth Rollins will get two matches, and then he'll move on to something else.
I can see it, but my thought is it makes more sense to have them run through SummerSlam and then to have Roman's next conquest be John Cena at Night of Champions. But that's just me. I feel like the story is a little bit more buttoned up because who better for him to face on Night of Champions than the most decorated champion in the industry, other than Ric Flair.
No, you're right. Except for like, but the only problem is like Night of Champions is kind of a throwaway pay per view. It's only Night of Champions by name. I think there was even last year they didn't even have all the champions defending.
No, they just broke Sting. That's all they did last year. Was
Yeah,
broke Sting.
and SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year. So I see that they want their stuff that could be on a WrestleMania card is what they want on their SummerSlam card.
Sure, I can
Which
see that.
I think what we'll get is we're going to get the Brock Lesnar Bray feud. I think we're going to get Cena versus Roman Reigns. We may have a surprise Undertaker match with somebody, but I don't know what we're gonna do with Seth.
Ambrose again?
Uh,
I don't know, man.
if he was
That's
a
rough.
there's too many things you could do. Actually, a good one would be him and AJ Styles. That would be a tremendous match. But another one I'd love to see would be Seth versus Kevin Owens.
That was the next thing I was gonna say.
But
Kevin fucking Owens would be
but
great.
but that only works, I think, if one of them is a face. Which I guess we're not going to get that.
Well, not anytime soon, but that's months away. Who knows? If the people keep loving on Seth, like I don't know, maybe. I never mind. I was gonna say people keep loving on Seth like they did, but he actually did a pretty damn good job turning the crowd against him on Monday night.
Oh, he did a great job because he's very good at it. I think he did a great job doing it. I don't think it was the right call. But moving on, also something that came out of that main event is it looks like they're going to take AJ Styles and they've officially split him away from the club, which is probably I imagine is the catalyst to bring up Finn Balor.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing for everybody. I thought it was lame the way they did it. I thought it was weird that that they didn't whip his ass. You know what I mean? That to me just makes more sense.
Not just that, because he has a match later on that night and he lost clean when perfect sense for them to, if you're going to start this thing, have him cost them the match.
Yeah, when somebody says, I respect you and you're still my brothers, but I got to go solo. I want to be done with this. When has that ever just ended in people respectfully walking away? That should have been Gallows again. It's the total misuse of Gallows and Anderson in every way possible.
Yeah, it's just like I think you said it a few weeks ago. Vince just signed him because he's like, yeah, they're popular,
Yeah,
and doesn't realize you have to let them either do what they made them popular or help them or put them in situations where they could be popular. But he just thinks, well, we own them.
yeah, that's it though. Like it's their bodies. It's their bodies that make it's their look. It's their physical appearance that makes them stars. Not what they do in the ring, not their charisma, not their personalities, not the gimmicks that they built for themselves. No, all you literally have to do is have their bodies. They could die and you could have a necromancer bring them back to life. Second time we've mentioned necromancy this episode. You could have a necromancer bring them back to life and have them shamble to the fucking ring as a rotting corpse. But at the end of the day, it's still the fucking molecules, the cells, the matter that made up that human being, and that's all you need to draw money. Fuck it. Has nothing to do with those guys and their personalities
Well,
and how they work.
this is the same Vince McMahon that seriously thought he could get two people from independent organizations and dress them up as known characters because he owned the names to the characters, as you know when he did with fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon, and it would be fine. It's
Yeah,
like
well,
it's like he truly believed that was going to be fine. But let's get into a little bit of releasing this. This was quite a week for that. You brought it up to me. Cody Rhodes on Saturday, I believe it was Saturday. He asked for his release from WWE, which he was granted on Sunday, and he had quite a compelling explanation for why he doesn't want to be part of the company anymore.
yeah, I've been debating how much to actually discuss this on the show, just because in an odd way it almost felt like a respect thing because Cody Rhodes has made it pretty clear on multiple occasions in the past how he really feels about wrestling podcasts. I don't think he really cares for them whatsoever, especially not for people like us who have never actually worked in the industry. I don't think he'd be too big of a fan of what we do. But that being said, yeah, it basically in short form, he was unhappy with his position in the company, which makes perfect sense. He was unhappy that he saw himself going down the road that his brother was sent down years ago when they made him Gold Dust. The difference being that Dustin got Gold Dust over in a time when something like Gold Dust could get over, and Cody was saddled with Stardust in a time where Stardust is never going to get over because he would never be allowed to do anything that would actually get a character that weird over. So he just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and he had a few choice things to say about when he left. It was kind of it was kind of a more reserved, more respectable version of CM Punk's comments on the company, or some of his comments on the company, and it's apparently causing a little bit of trouble for him. But I'm happy. I think he's gonna land on his feet no matter where he ends up. I'm just more interested to see where he ends up next.
Yeah, because he's so talented. He could be a world champion anywhere he went, given the opportunity. He's got charisma. He can work. He's just all around should be a top guy, but he's never really been given that opportunity. And he was saddled with this Stardust gimmick that at first I think he was pretty much okay with because they weren't doing anything with him before. And it gave him something different to sink his teeth into. But I guess it's since his father passed last June, they actually had been talking about the transition back into Cody Rhodes. And I guess the original plan was that either at WrestleMania or the night after, he was going to transition back to Cody Rhodes. And then the writers were like, nah. They didn't really have a good answer for him, and they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna keep you as you are.
Well, he's talented. He's hardworking. And I don't know how his mind for the business is, but I can only imagine that the kind of thing you want in any other wrestling promotion that's not WWE is the kind of guys who are coming and pitching concepts to you. Not only pitching concepts, but pitching concepts that at least they genuinely believe are the best thing for everyone involved, not just for themselves. And according to this statement that he released, that's essentially what he was doing. You know, he was trying. He wasn't just trying to find his way out of the Stardust gimmick or to a more prominent spot on the roster, but he was trying to help the company by basically coming up with ideas that were going to help get as many people over as possible, and he was just kind of shat on at every turn. He was ignored. The portion that particularly stood out to me was when he was talking about going to talk to these WWE writers and having people, as he puts it, big league him by pretending to be working on their clearly powered down laptops while he's trying to discuss business with them. Holy shit. If anyone did that to me in my office, I would tell them exactly where to fucking shove it. And if he had the presence of mind and was a stand up enough guy to just let that shit go, I salute him, because I wouldn't put up with that shit. But
Yeah,
that's also what makes him a better man than me.
yeah, I would have smashed their laptop. But it's sad because he's just another really talented guy that they never really gave him the chance to get over. And I guess they explained it to him as well, in every play, there's everyone has different types of parts, and this is just your part. And he goes, well, main actors don't take bit parts, and I'm a main actor.
Yeah, they shouldn't like it, is what he said. You know, they
Yeah,
should they is good actors shouldn't want shit parts. And what was really funny to me was that quote. He says that quote was coming directly from Triple H. And again, I've said it so many times this show, and I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck how old or cliche it is to feel this way. I don't want to hear that shit from you, because your career comes because of who you're putting your dick into. Fuck you, dude. Your career would have been over years ago. Fuck you.
it's weird to go back in time and look at old Hunter Hearst Helmsley or Terra Rising, or even Levesque, whatever, Jean Paul Levesque, and think, wow, he's running professional wrestling now.
Yep.
That
Yep.
guy.
And
He's,
that's the thing is like, sure, I understand that he's a level headed guy and that he's smart and he's a student of the game, but at the end of the day, yeah, sure, is he doing a lot of successful things at NXT? Yes, but let's really break it down. Still doesn't have a good track record with creating his own talent. Still having to take talent from other organizations to really make that work. All right, he's just copying what was done in territories for fucking decades. All he's really doing is winding back the clock to a time where wrestling made a little bit more sense. And with all the time that he's fucking cheated out of the industry because of who he was fucking, he has been smart enough to sit around and surround himself with actual great wrestling minds and absorb what he could and learn from them. He basically just turned himself into a sponge, which I think is fucking fantastic, and I think good for him. He has certainly definitely played the game, no pun intended, very, very fucking well. But at the end of the day, if he did not have the advantages that came from being Vince McMahon's son-in-law, his career would have been over a long fucking time ago. A long time ago. So when this guy fucking talks, when this guy talks or acts like he's the greatest fucking thing since sliced bread, fuck you, dude. You had fucking Dusty Rhodes working for you and helping train and mold the talent, the really quality talent that was coming out of NXT. Fuck you.
That's 100% true. And now, I guess it didn't really hit me until you said that. Every person who's come out of NXT that has done anything was someone who spent years in the independents.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 100% true.
They have a shit track record for making their own stars. There are so fucking few of them, and even most. I'm not saying it's never happened because look at fucking Enzo Amore, but even the ones that most that are getting over or have gotten over or even kind of sort of gotten over that they built themselves. Nepotism. The number one guy I can think of is Bray Wyatt, and he's not even that fucking over, but that's fucking Vince's fault. But Bray Wyatt, for the time that he was over, for bringing him from NXT to the main roster, well, he's got a fucking name, and he's been around it his entire life. You know what I mean? It's like, how is he not going to fucking understand the business? He's been around his entire goddamn life. I'm talking about guys like Enzo Amore that you brought in from scratch and you fucking built. You haven't proven that you can do that beyond one fucking guy.
And speaking of guys they really couldn't do much with, and he's now gotten his future endeavors, Adam Rose was let go on Monday.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone saw this one coming.
Yeah, I think everyone did. He had been suspended for what seemed like a bullshit reason, to be honest. If you looked into it, apparently he was on Ritalin or Adderall or one of the drugs that's for ADD that he's been on for years, and WWE has known about it, but now they counted it as a wellness policy violation, and so he was sent home for 60 days, and then he got caught up in assault charges. And they've decided that no more Adam Rose.
Well, you know what really fucking annoyed me about this more than anything was listening to other wrestling podcasts, to just really wrestling media outlets in general, kind of making the comments that oh, he didn't really do himself any favors by putting his doctor's note on social media and showing how bullshit what they were doing to him. He didn't do himself any fucking favors. Yeah, I get that the way to get ahead in WWE is to shovel the shit into your mouth yourself and then thank them for the opportunity. But at the same time, if they were fucking him and he was trying to do something about it, sorry. And I'm not saying he's a fucking hero. I'm not saying he's a martyr. I'm not saying he's a flawless dude. Clearly he has problems. But at the end of the day, I hate this mentality that fucking standing up for yourself against the fucking big guy is a bad fucking thing. It's so goddamn annoying. It infuriates me when people shit all over fucking CM Punk for the way that he went about leaving the company, and then the way he went about actually disseminating how he perceived his exit on Colt Cabana's podcast. Dude, he stood up for himself. Sorry, fuck you if you don't like it.
No, and I think Adam Rose is probably extremely frustrated, especially after when he was on the Proving Ground show, or Breaking Ground, or whatever it was called, and he actually was one of the better stories on that.
I heard he was the standout. I've still never seen it, but I heard he
really was. You really love that character by the end of it, and he's like, hey, this is my opportunity. You guys can push me, change my name back to Leo Kruger. We'll go in there, and they're just like, nah, we're good.
Fuck you. Where's the bunny? Oh, we fired him. Oh, sorry. We took one of the most talented guys in the company, put him in a bunny suit, embarrassed the fuck out of him, then fired him. Great, yeah, no, fuck you. Dance to the ring.
Yeah, and then I just don't understand what they're doing, and then they're like, hey, Darren Young, we're gonna make you great again. That's gonna be, they're pushing guys like that. Who Darren Young, I think, is talented, but it's like kind of almost out of nowhere where they had opportunities with guys that are getting over, that they could have served up on a silver platter and give them pushes and made themselves and that person money, and they just didn't do it.
Well, they love reclamation projects at WWE. They really do. They love going and grabbing guys that they've given multiple opportunities to that have never actually gotten over and giving them opportunity 7 or 8. And that in and of itself, it just shows that like if on a very basic level, if Vince likes you, you're gonna get every fucking opportunity, no matter how bad you suck, no matter how poorly you do, no matter how long it takes for you to get over or not get over for that matter. You're gonna get every opportunity in the world if Vince McMahon likes you or sees a profitable opportunity. Because seriously, Darren Young being the first openly gay professional wrestler, that's a thing. That's a fucking thing to them. So yeah, they don't. I can't even necessarily say that Vince even fucking likes him. There's an ulterior motive there. But anyway,
Yeah.
the fact that I just it's just so it's so goddamn infuriating. How many chances were we gonna give Ryback before we gave up on him? And he had to shoot himself in the foot. And they still haven't technically gotten rid of him, have they?
No, he's still under contract. There's word that they think that they're just going to let his contract run out, and he's now trying to ask if the people want to see me in the Impact Zone. Don't go that way, Ryback, because there may not be an Impact Zone by the time you're eligible to go work there.
I would say go that way, Ryback. I'm fine with it. Honestly, step into that hole, step into that freshly dug grave, because seriously, I don't want to see you wrestling on my TV anymore. There are things I am certain you are better at.
I just don't understand what his mindset is because I can't see. Well, Dixie Carter's an idiot, but I can't. If it was me, I'm looking at this guy who never made any money for the WWE, was said to be have been a problem in certain areas, and he's going to have a hefty price tag because of what he thinks of himself and where he came from. And my company is financially struggling. I wouldn't even consider it. I think his best opportunity, if he wants to be successful in professional wrestling, is to go to Japan, go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and become the new type Vader character, the Gaijin American that goes over there and just destroys Japanese people.
Just strong styles the fuck at everybody till they can't stand up.
Yeah, and I think he would do extremely well. He could be like a modern day Stan Hansen or Vader, like I said.
He'd fucking hurt somebody.
Oh, he would, but that to me is his only opportunity to make money and actually get over in this business.
No, and you're right. You're right. And don't get me wrong. I don't mean to leave this glaring continuity error in our fine program here. I definitely have respect for him for the things that he has said. That in I guess in the interim period since he decided to fucking go home over contract disputes. But at the same time, that does not change the fact that I don't think he needs to be a professional wrestler. You just don't.
Who he's got to eat. He's very hungry.
Well, you for some reason I feel like he's always hungry. I feel like once you feed him, there's he feels a very particular way about that.
You just have to feed him more.
You had to say it, didn't you?
I did. I did have to say it. So, based on that, in other news, of people who were not on our TV that we want to be on our TV, Sasha Banks, it's reported that she, because it was thought that she was just taken off of TV just to keep her, just not to overexpose her or just make the fans see her too much. But apparently, she has a pretty nasty concussion.
So that makes sense. To me, I guess. And the reason for that is because I thought to myself multiple times in the past couple of weeks, is someone at WWE smart? Is there someone over there who actually realizes that taking Sasha Banks off TV for a while will make us miss her so that she can come back in a big way and challenge Charlotte? And then when I read this, I went, "Oh no, 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 not true at all. She'd be running herself up against Natalia on Superstars if she wasn't hurt." That
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah, so apparently she had a knee injury back in January that they kind of swept under the rug, and she wanted to make it till WrestleMania. But I guess at some point it hasn't been confirmed when, but I guess she had a pretty nasty concussion, and it it was something that was actually kind of serious. Like it wasn't, I mean, there are slight concussions or something, but I guess she took a hit pretty bad, so that's why she's been off our TVs. And as of right now, there's no real timetable for when we're going to see her back. They're very much hoping and still have it in the plans that she and Charlotte are going to have their program for SummerSlam. But with this injury, there's a possibility that might not happen. That might be off the table.
Well, I will just say this: if there's any opportunity whatsoever for you to ever hear this, get well, boss. You are sorely missed, because I would argue this might be a bold statement, but I'm going to argue it. Sasha Banks might be the best total package from 360 degrees in professional wrestling today.
I have said it numerous times that she is the woman Rock.
Yeah,
She has
yeah,
that kind of potential.
yeah, and yeah. It's just I'm not saying she is the best at any one thing. I'm saying that her stats, to take it to a video game level, her stats are just they're good enough in every separate allocation slot that she is the best all around package in the industry.
Well, hopefully we'll get to finally know her stats because the on the next video game they'll actually put the horsewomen on it, which that was a huge missed opportunity this past year.
Were they not on 16? None of them.
None of them, not
Holy
a single
shit!
one of them is
And
on
yet
16.
Primo and I'm sorry. What were their names?
Los Matadores
Yeah, Fernando and Fernando.
from
I don't know.
Diego.
Whatever, Fernando and Fernando. Because now they're back in a big way, baby. You
Oh,
notice how you notice how this newly emerged what's the word, re-debuting talent was not on Raw last night.
the Shining
Huh.
Stars. I think
How odd.
did
Are
they?
they already on Superstars?
I think they had a promo.
Did they?
I
must
think
have
so.
missed that.
I think they talked about how they were how many people was talking about how they love the Shining Stars.
I'm sure. I'm sure they were Puerto Rico.
So I wonder when they are going to get an opportunity to be on a pay per view. I wonder if
You mean when they're going to be have an opportunity to be on the pre-show?
on the pre-show. Yeah, I mean they could very possibly be the next Vaudevillains match.
They're talented dudes. There's no question they are talented dudes. Their first match back was good,
Yeah,
but they're just the gimmick is shit, and it's not playing to their strengths at all.
no, and I wish they would bring back Carlito because I think you're right. That would make a great little stable.
That would make a fucking great stable.
But moving on to what is our next pay per view, and on June 17th we will be having the annual Money in the Bank pay per view, which is always kind of fun. I mean, that it kind of brings a little spice into it. But we had this week has been basically made up of qualifier matches, and as of right now, we've had I think 5 people qualify. 4 or 5 are in. We got Kevin Owens, we got Cesaro who went over on the Miz. Kevin Owens went over on AJ Styles. We talked about earlier. And then let's see, we got Chris Jericho, who went over on Apollo Crews, which
It's a
was
goddamn criminal act.
let's talk a little bit about how that took place before we get into the rest of the Money in the Bank field. So Apollo Crews um, was attacked backstage by Sheamus, just beaten on up because Sheamus is having this issue with the New Era. He's because the New Era is just getting in his way because earlier in that night.
You're passing me by. You think you're passing me by? You like that?
That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. You could get a movie. You could get a part in a Ben Stiller movie. That would be so good.
I wanna be a mutant in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
You have that. You have that kind of potential.
Thanks, buddy.
I think you could. I think you would be Wingnut.
Thank you. That's what I was gonna say. Can I be because he's really like the only one they haven't used because you got Baxter Stockman as fucking Medea for some reason.
Yeah.
Think about it.
But okay, so Sheamus lost his qualifier match to Sami Zayn, and he decides to take it out on Apollo Crews. So Apollo Crews gets beaten in the back. So I'm thinking, well, I guess they're going to have somebody else come out. Maybe we're going to get a debut. Maybe someone else is going to step in and it's going to be a surprise. No, 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 not at all. Apollo Crews comes out as if nothing happened. Comes
Yeah,
out,
did not selling.
didn't sell a thing, was
He's apparently the
smiling.
only guy who knows how to sell an ass beating earlier in the night. I'm sorry, the only guys who know how to sell those are Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. No one else knows how to do it.
Yeah, so he takes on Chris Jericho, who comes out looking like he's just covered with bandages because the night before he fell on what they claim was over 70 thumbtacks. Where
You know what he looked like? He looked like Marv from Sin City.
he did. You're right. That's a good. I was trying to think of something. I was going to say a mummy, but I'm like, no, mummy doesn't work.
No,
What
he
could it
looked
possibly
like
be?
fucking Marv from Sin City.
Perfect. So Jericho obviously hurt, selling the fact that he's hurt, beats Apollo Crews cleanly in the ring, who over someone who has just been attacked by someone twice his size in the back. What the fuck?
Yeah, and that to me, this is one of those situations we've talked about on the show before, where if that was planned in advance, then he had all the time in the world. If it was a last minute change, then he had a short amount of time to do something about it. But that is a situation where someone with Chris Jericho's his lineage, with Chris Jericho's sway, with Chris Jericho's his pull in the company, should have pulled someone aside and said, "Hey, this is bullshit. This is fucking. What are we doing? And why are we doing it?" But one of two things happened: either he didn't at all, or just no one listened. And I would honestly think it's probably more likely that no one listened. But maybe that's also just because I don't want Chris Jericho to openly hate me on social media, because he's really big into that nowadays. He doesn't care for smarks at all. His Twitter account tells me about every 2 days.
Yeah, he's something else. But I mean, I think it's a good idea to have at least one veteran in the match. So I'm okay with him qualifying. I just don't like the way it happened.
It just shouldn't have been over Apollo Crews.
Well, the thing is, if you're going to do an Apollo Crews Sheamus feud, then I can get that, and I can get behind that. But I put the blame on Apollo Crews for not selling the fact that he got beat, because he gets beat up by Sheamus, then he loses to Chris Jericho. I can get behind that because he's selling his injury and he's hurt. What I can't get behind is him getting his ass kicked, coming out looking like he's fine, and then get beaten up by someone covered in bandages who's obviously hurt.
Well, and we're talking about two separate things too. We're talking like I'm bitching booking, you're bitching about Apollo burying himself. But the fact of the matter is, both both sides of that coin, both sides of that coin happened. So
No, you're right. But so I assume we're going to be getting a Apollo Crews versus Sheamus match at Money in the Bank, which I don't know. I was actually pretty surprised that Sami Zayn went over on Sheamus, just because they like to push Sheamus as this monster type heel, and I think he has the potential to be a good monster type heel. But there's just something about the guy that's just
it's
you
it's his booking. It's
yeah.
his booking, because we were saying the same thing this time last year. At least I was saying the same thing to you this time last year. Was I would love to see Sheamus just stop fucking talking and start fucking wrecking people, and they just didn't do it. His booking has just been shit. To be frank, I think he's a talented dude. I certainly don't think that he's a main event player, but I think he's an upper mid card guy that just should be wrecking motherfuckers, and he should be a gate. He should be a sub boss on your way to the championship, and one actually a threat. But I am not surprised that Sami Zayn qualified at all, because I don't know if you noticed the trend going here, but the trend is okay. We don't want people to complain that we're over exposing Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. We don't want people to complain that we are overusing that. So they're never going to have a one-on-one match. They're just always going to be the shining stars of overloaded matches. That's literally it. They actually went so far at Extreme Rules to have a big segment of the match where Cesaro and Miz were knocked the fuck out so that those two could go to town on each other. That rivalry is so hot, and they're just trying to pass it, pass it, pass it. They don't want to do it yet. They don't want to do it yet, but they want you to remember how hot it is, and so they're going to keep running them up against each other. But as long as there's at least one other person in that ring, they can say they haven't fought yet.
You're true. That's 100% true. So now let's look at what the field is as of right now. We got Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, who went over on Dolph Ziggler because Dolph Ziggler's not allowed to win ever, and then they got Kevin Owens, who went over clean against AJ Styles in the main event, which was a pretty good match. So those are what we have, and then we have two more that are going to qualify on SmackDown, which is being taped tonight and will air on Thursday. So it's going to be interesting to see what else they have. But looking at that field, I like who I see in there as far as potential. We'll see how the other two pan out. But as of right now, I don't see Sami Zayn winning because I think Kevin Owens would be a good choice, but I think him and Sami Zayn have too much of a feud to keep going on. I don't think Dean Ambrose needs to do it. From what I see right now, I really would like to see Cesaro get the briefcase.
I think I'm going to disagree with you. I think Kevin Owens is the only choice. I really do. I think for the benefit of the benefit of the storytelling all around, I think that Kevin Owens is literally the only choice here. He is the only guy who you would really feel like tension knowing that he's lurking with that Money in the Bank briefcase, especially if they would actually put the goddamn belt on an actual face champion. But you could have Zayn and Owens continue their feud while he's going to carry that fucking briefcase for months, dude. I mean, it's very unlikely that he's going to get rid of it right away. So few guys have done that. He's going to carry that briefcase for months, and they could actually do something that I think they've done it once before, right? Where someone actually challenged for the briefcase and took it off him. Has that happened, or is that just something I've always wanted to happen?
I think it was because of injury. I believe Chris Jericho took it off of Kennedy, or maybe it was Edge took it off of Kennedy, but it had to do with an injury.
Okay.
But I guess
that
I'm looking.
thing is such a powerful weapon. You know what I mean? It's like really think about that. Like, why are we not feuding over the Money in the Bank briefcase? That would make the Money in the Bank briefcase so fresh, because I'm kind of tired of it at this point, and I think it would make it so fresh if we would actually have guys feud over that. Like I'm gonna fucking hurt you, motherfucker, and the way I'm gonna hurt you is I'm gonna take that fucking briefcase from you. So I'm gonna because that briefcase, they say it all the time in the show, pretty much guarantees that you're gonna be the heavyweight champion at some point. So what better way to hurt somebody than to fucking take away that dream?
I guess my only thing with Kevin Owens winning it, which I don't get me wrong, I think he would be fantastic. He would do some great things with it. But I'm looking at the last few years, and if Kevin Owens wins, that would be 5 in a row that a heel won.
So you want to see a face win?
I think it would change it up a little bit. It would just make it a little bit different. And now flip it this way. Now instead of doing Cesaro like I suggested, put it on Sami Zayn, and Owens' only goal is to make sure he can't cash it in.
I get that, but that's really I guess my issue is that's really the only story you can tell with a face Mr. Money in the Bank, but a heel Mr. Money, like, that's a heel's role. You know what I mean? I think there's a reason the heel always wins it, because that's a heel position. I mean, look what happened. Look at the last face who won it. Look what happened to him. Not only was he released 2 weeks ago, but he's the only guy other than Big Match John who's fucking challenged with the briefcase and lost it. And they made him look like a fucking total jerk.
But he was a heel when he won it.
That's not what the crowd thought. I mean, I get what you're saying. Yes, in the record books, he was a heel, but that's not what the crowd thought.
I don't know. I disagree. At that time, he was in Rhodes Scholars with Cody Rhodes, and he wasn't as over.
I see, but when he betrayed Cody and they went they went through that feud, man, that to me was it. Like, that was when people that's when people liked him. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I know the Mizdow thing like shot it to the moon, but I would argue that people were hot for Sandow prior to Mizdow.
I'll have to go back and check on that to see, because I honestly don't remember it as that well, but my recollection was that he was not cheered at that point, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it was just me. I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but I was like, I remember being, while he was carrying that briefcase, or actually shortly after that, just being fucking infuriated infuriated by the fucking Magneto gimmick for Days of Future Past and all this, like him coming out in all those being infuriated about that because the costumes predated Mizdow, and that was so
No,
annoying
yeah,
because
that's
you know what I
true.
mean. That was that period, and I guess what I'm saying is I feel like you can trace Sandow's his his fandom back to that point, back to him winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. To me, that's the night that he changed in the eyes of the audience, but not in the eyes of the company.
That makes sense. Yeah, that was pretty surprising that he cashed it in and went. Didn't even have an opportunity. Like it was.
Well, I mean, it
It,
was
it,
against John Cena. What the fuck did you expect?
right.
Everyone knew the second he came out. They're like, "Oh, you poor man, your career's over."
Yeah, it was just dumb. Just because as you think about it, it's like then why? Why did he win? You could have given it to anybody.
So
But
do you find it funny that the sponsor for Money in the Bank is Gold Bond Ultimate? Like why? Like that's such a weird thing. Like Gold Bond. Roman Reigns puts it on his balls before he wrestles.
oh, that's what It's funny because when you said that, the first thing I was thinking of was like, are they in the Cash for Gold game too, like Jeff Jarrett? That's the first thing I thought of. It that I had to. Oh, that's what it is. It's the powder
Well,
stuff.
I used to be a bartender, and so let's just say that I used Gold Bond for the same thing Roman Reigns would use Gold Bond for. It's an incredible product. I just
So
don't know why they're so goddamn proud of it being a sponsor.
I'm guessing that use was not to get over.
No, okay. I'll just say this. I always thought it would be great if Gold Bond's tagline was Gold Bond. You put it on your balls. That's it. I mean, that's what you do with it. I don't know anyone else who does anything else with Gold Bond.
Oh, that's funny. Our last topic that we're going to get into is something that is supposed to be funny, and that is Camp WWE, which is the adult cartoon, the animated series on the network. Now, have you watched any of this?
Still haven't gotten around to it, but you're also talking to a guy who, like, I still haven't gotten around to watching much of Edge and Christian, which I hear is great and everyone loves. Camp WWE, now all I ever hear from people is, and then nobody really has an opinion.
It's not good. I'll put it out there. It's not funny. It tries to be. The jokes are very tired, which is I think Seth Green is hilarious, and for him to make this show, it's just there are little things that I kind of like about it, but really overall, there's no reason. I can't even finish. It took me a couple times. I don't think I finished the second episode. I watched the third one because I saw that Jake the Snake was in it, and I'm a big Jake the Snake fan. But it was kind of weird. It didn't make a lot of sense. Then I watched the fourth one and didn't finish it. It's weird. It's a weird show. The Vince McMahon character is the best character on it, and he's kind of funny.
I hear there's a lot of Rick just humping inanimate objects too. Like that's the gag with him, is he walks into frame and humps an inanimate object.
Yeah, he's just out there. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but it's weird because they have all these attitude people that are the same age as the new era guys, and then
Yeah,
you
isn't that
have
what it is? Like they're the kids, right? Like Attitude Era and beyond are the kids in the camp, and then the counselors are all guys from before them. Which, by the way, is very telling of how WWE fucking views. Like they don't want to seem too old. They don't want to. They want you to not realize that the Attitude Era was 20 years ago. So they put out little gems like oh, it's still young and cool. It's
yeah,
not still young and
like
cool.
Stone Cold Steve Austin's this little kid, and all even though he's in his 50s, the Undertaker is basically a goth kid.
Well, and isn't that what we want to see? Don't we want to see other mediums where we can explore the greatest rivalry in the history of wrestling? So we want to see old Vince McMahon and little kid Steve Austin. That's so fucking. It's like Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, like making Darth Vader a kid. Whose fucking idea was that, and why are we doing it? And I've seen the
Yeah,
commercials and like the weird voice actor kid voices that they like. Okay, a big part of why a lot of these guys were over was their ability to talk. So you should have spent more than 5 minutes casting their voice actors.
I agree. It's the show's not great. I don't think I'll get too far into it. I really don't. I just don't give a shit about it. And the thing is, it's such a weird thing. Like the whole show is a weird idea because you've been pushing for years and years and years. Oh, we're PG, and then you make a show that looks very kid friendly, and even with a name like Camp WWE, feels like that. What was that Slam City show they did recently a couple years ago, and it's very vulgar.
See, and I thought Slam City was really cute and fun. I really did. Like it wasn't the greatest thing ever. They could have put more effort into it, but for what it was cute and it was fun, and I could see how kids would have enjoyed it if they would have kept doing it. But yeah, this looks like an identity crisis. This just looks like everything else in WWE. There's a massive identity crisis. Vince thinks they're one thing. Everyone else thinks they're something different.
Yeah, and it's weird because Hunter and Stephanie are teenagers in it, and Hunter's kind of awkward in trying to get with Stephanie, and like the
He's a
last.
teenager, but Stone Cold Steve Austin is a kid.
Yeah,
WT fuck.
I know. I said the same thing. So this last episode was about him wanting to date Stephanie and him talking to Vince, and Vince goes, "Well, you're gonna have to take me out on a date and prove to me that you want to be with my daughter." And then it's between that and then Mark Henry having serious constipation.
Oh, of course he
That's what the episode was all. And all I was thinking about is like poor Mark Henry. Even as a cartoon, you're being shit on.
No fucking respect. I honestly thought that you were gonna tell me that that Vince was gonna tell little teenage Triple H that he had to take his current girlfriend out into the woods and put a bullet in her fucking brain because that's essentially what he did in the first place.
Yeah, she got sent home from camp.
Yeah. Oh God. Now that like it would have been brutal and it would have been poorly timed, but I would have been like, okay. Well, I mean, at least you're owning up to how much of a fucking asshole you are.
Yeah, there are little digs in there here and there, like about stuff, but nothing too memorable. But I'm just not a huge fan of the show. Like I just assumed knowing who was behind it, the people from Robot Chicken would do better.
I thought it. I thought it looked like absolute fucking trash from the get go, which is why I haven't even tried it. But the thing about Robot Chicken is it's a very particular brand of humor. It's humor in short bursts. It's like distilled Family Guy cutaway gags. You know what I mean? It's just super short burst humor. And so I'm assuming that this show is probably tries to have a plot with every episode, and that's not what Seth Green. That's not his strength.
Yeah.
He's a really funny fucking dude, no question. But that's not his strength.
Yeah, so they're 4 episodes in, and it's not just not that entertaining to me anyway.
Yeah, I just think it looks like dog shit, so I haven't even tried.
And Roman's in the show as a little kid, and I don't
Of
think
course he is. I thought you were gonna tell me that he was a fetus that just crawls up and starts punching people.
I don't know. I don't think he said anything yet, except for stand back and look really strong.
Oh
Uh,
my
Paige is the bitchy character. The Bellas are in it, and one of the Bellas they're just one of them, like basically Nikki or Bree is Nikki's bitch in it, and our truth is in it. It's just it's not. I don't know. I don't have anything to say about it. Like I can't be like it's like what you said. Well, people have seen it and they're just like it's a show.
Well, it really does just sound like it sounds so like everything else, sterile and overproduced, and it sounds like they're trying to force an agenda with it, i.e., make sure Roman is on the same level as all the Attitude Era stars. He has to be the same age as them. He has to be on the same level as them. But then the level above them, we have to remind everyone that Attitude Era is cool, and remind them all that it's totally not old. So they all have to be at this level, and then Roman and the new guys have to be at this level, so that we all know that they're just as good, even though they're not. And then we got to make sure the level above them has to be Triple H and Stephanie, even though it makes no fucking sense with the structure that we've set up. It has to be them because they're my kids. And then above everybody has to be me. And then we need that wacky Jar Jar Binks character. So let's just have Ric Flair hump stuff. It sounds so much like Seth Green, like they wanted to put his name on it. And this is just the way you describe it. I haven't seen it, but it sounds like they just wanted to put his name on it, and then a bunch of assholes from the writing staff sat around the room and came up with like a surgical system for how to hit all these little corporate touch points. It just sounds fucking terrible.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a show that was put together by a focus group.
Yeah, there you go. God, you just condensed all the dumb shit I said into one sentence and made it make sense. Thank you.
No, I deal with that same bullshit all the time. Where it's 20 people. It's what do they say? A camel is a horse drawn by committee,
Yeah. Yep.
and that's what this show is. But anyway, that's pretty much the news I have that's going on right now for this week. We've hit about an hour 30, which is usually a good time for us to end. So unless you have anything else, I think we should say our goodbyes, do our plugs, and head for that. I don't know, that old 3 count in the sky.
Oh God damn it! I don't even know. I didn't know what the fuck you were going for, but I just
Me
let you
neither.
finish. At this point, I'm glad we finished. We both started the show absolutely dragging ass, and I'm sure that it showed. But no, I think we covered what we wanted to cover, and I think we're a little more pointed about it this week too. So I enjoyed that, even though we meandered as we are wont to do. So as far as plugs go, I'll just run through the normal BCR stuff if you don't mind. So join us every week here on Black Coat Radio. Every Monday you're going to get the Zero Lives Video Game Podcast. Every Wednesday you are going to get this One Sweet Wrestling Podcast with myself and Mr. David. And every Friday, Johnny Cinema and Toby DePalma are bringing you all the best, all the newest, all the latest, all the coolest shit in the world of both independent and big time cinema. This week they had a really great commentary track for E.T. I haven't thought of E.T. in years, so it was really fucking entertaining to actually sit down and listen to that. I would argue that it was entertaining without the movie. I don't know if I'd want to sit down and put it over the movie. Like, I think it's more entertaining just listening to it. But regardless, if you want to get in touch with us here at the One Sweet Wrestling Podcast, hit us up at blackcoatradio@gmail.com. Toss the One Sweet into the subject line. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Excellent. And we're gonna, after we one sweet our way out of here, I am going to leave us with our new segment that I'm going to try, and it's shitty promo of the week. And this week I got a good one. If you after you hear it, if you want to figure out where that came from, just go to YouTube and type in Scott Steiner fat asses.
Oh, I haven't seen this one yet. Oh, I'm excited for this.
This
is like our moment of zen.
Yes, this is from TNA, from a Bound for Glory pay-per-view in 2007. But for David and Troy, I think we're gonna head out, and we'll see you next week. One sweet to you, sir.
Sweet to you, brother.
Rick and Scott Steiner, let me welcome you back.
Oh, Team 3D, you guys are out of your mind. Coming to Atlanta, Georgia, the place that the Steiner brothers got their start in professional wrestling. You guys are out of your mind, making it a table match, because tonight we're going to beat you at your own game. And after it's all said and done, you're going to be taking splinters out of your fat asses all night long, because you got some fat asses. The only chance you have no chance, but you had a chance, is that you can run lickety-split. Because you can't run because you got some fat asses. And after it's done, we're going to have a tailgate party for all my freaks out there in Atlanta, Georgia. You wanted some, you got some. This is the big time, boys. You come down that aisle, the Steiner brothers has got something for you.